Today we're going to be looking at some basics of color mixing. So I have my color wheel here, but if we just kind of do a quick little study on some color mixing, right? So our primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. So I'm just going to find some crayons, and I'm going to do a little color mixing here. So I've got some, well, it's kind of a pinkish red, but it'll work. Okay, so I don't even have to make a color wheel to do these color mixings. Okay, and I'm just using something really, really simple, right? Crayons. Let's see. This camera doesn't really pick up color that well, but you can try it yourself and see how bright and beautiful these colors are. Okay, so when I mix yellow and red, it creates an orange. Let's see if I can do this with yellow first and then red on top, and let's see if we can get a different kind of orange. Yeah, my orange is a little bit different here. Again, it's hard to see on the camera here, but these two oranges are just a little bit different. This one is a little bit lighter because I started with the lighter color. This one is a little bit darker because I started with the darker color. Okay. Let's see what happens when we put a little bit of blue on these colors. Ooh, getting kind of a nice purple here. All right, but that might be different if I do blue first and red on top. Now when I'm coloring as well, especially with crayon, I'm pressing really nice and hard to get these really nice, beautiful, vibrant colors. That's really important too when you're doing color mixing, okay, especially with crayon. Different materials use different techniques, but for crayons it's really important when we're coloring to pay attention to the direction we're coloring and also to pay attention to how hard we're pressing with our crayons. Now this is a really nice green there, okay? So I've done some color mixing here on my paper. I'm filling it completely so that there's absolutely no more white showing at all in the entire paper. Okay, I'm using different kinds of colors, not just primary colors, so I'm using some different kinds of crayons. Let's see what other kinds of crayons I can use here. Well, I think I need to add more yellow. So we'll do a little bit more yellow. Okay, and the yellow with the green looks a little bit different than the yellow with the blue. Okay, so there's different kinds of greens. I'm trying to make as many different new colors as I can. Take this time to really experiment with colors. See if you can make a color that you've never ever even seen before. Ooh, I like that color. Okay, I'm going to get really close to the edge too and make sure the whole thing is colored so that there's no more white showing at all. I'm even getting some color here. All right, so I'm going to continue with that. And then I'll show you a new thing that you can do once you have this colored paper. This completely colored. I'm going to show you, before our next step, I'm going to show you a couple other things that you can color with. Maybe you have these things at home, maybe not. If you have crayons, colored pencils, markers, you can experiment mixing colors with those. Colored pencils are a little bit challenging. You have to make sure you're not pressing, you're kind of going in different layers. So maybe you do like yellow and then a little bit of red and then a little bit of yellow and then a little bit of red and kind of adding these layers. Marker is actually pretty challenging to mix colors with, depending on what colors you have, but you might want to try that out and see what kinds of things you can do mixing colors with crayons. I want to show you a couple other materials and the different ways that that colors mix in different materials. So here I have an oil pastel, which is actually not that different than, actually this is a crayon. Somebody put a crayon in my oil pastels here. Here we go, here's an oil pastel. So the pigments are a little bit richer, it's a little bit softer, okay, and it's a little bit mixable. So I can do those same primary colors mixing into secondary colors, and I have a little bit of mixing going on there, but even with my finger, then I can blend that a little bit more. So this is kind of fun too, and I can even take a little tool or maybe the back of a pencil or paintbrush or something like that, and I can scratch through that, revealing the color underneath. So that's kind of a fun thing to do with the oil pastels. There's a lot of different oil pastel techniques that you can do, but we're just working on color mixing here. So I'm going to, again, kind of experiment with these different pastels and see what kind of colors I can make with them. A little bit of pink here, like a creamy color here. See what happens with that. Whoa, I had a little bit of red on my finger there. Making all different kinds of colors with that. So I'm going to, again, maybe fill this whole paper. And then something else that's really fun to do. I really like chalk pastels. They get a little bit messy, but I really like the colors that you can mix. And they blend really, really well together. So I can add, I don't know, a bunch of different colors together. Some blue and some pink. I can do it on the side like that, or I can do it with its edge, get a little bit more chalk on there. And then I really like the way that the chalk pastels mix together and make new colors. Let's add a little yellow. Again, kind of using, even with just 3 colors, just primary colors, we can make a ton of really beautiful, beautiful colors. Ooh, I really like that green. All right, so have some fun doing some color mixing. And then I'll show you some things that you can do with this colored paper. All right, so here I have my colored paper, and then I have a piece of blank paper, but I have white here, but actually it's a lot of fun to do this on maybe a black piece of paper. That would be really nice, especially if you have these really bright colors. It'll stand out really nicely on black paper. But what we're going to do is something that many artists have done, is we're going to take this and we are going to cut it into pieces and then make a collage on our new paper here. So I'm going to start I'm actually going to just cut this in half, because I'm going to do a couple different things with it. The first thing I want to do is something that's really, really simple, but that I quite enjoy. I'm just going to start cutting sort of these strips, maybe not completely straight lines. Maybe I'll start straight, start adding things like that. And then I'm going to take my glue stick. I'm going to start gluing it onto my paper. Let's start from the corner here. But I'm going to leave a little gap. Because I kind of like patterns like this. Some people like their art to be a little bit more free-form, and actually I do actually tend to like that as well. But sometimes I enjoy it, and maybe I'll make the gaps start getting bigger and bigger. That might be interesting. I kind of like this wavy thing that's going on here. So maybe I'll do a few more of these. I like that. Okay. So then maybe I have sort of this like really ordered area, but maybe down here, I kind of maybe want to make it a little bit crazy. So maybe I'll do a lot of tiny little cuts. Maybe some different shapes. And then maybe I'll kind of just do these in a little bit more of a random pattern. And maybe these will be a little bit closer together too. I think I still want a gap in between these. But you don't have to, right? You can do a lot of overlapping as well. So if you like to do overlapping shapes, and maybe I totally fill this up. So that there's not even any white space at all. I don't know. Maybe do some experiments. Maybe try some different ways. Because then I'm kind of like using my colors in interesting new ways too, right? So this blue contrasts really beautifully with this orange. And that's really beautiful that I didn't have that before. So I'm kind of almost working with color, using color in a new way than I did before. And I'm putting new colors next to each other that would have never been there if I hadn't cut them apart and made something new. All right. So maybe experiment a little bit with color mixing. Not only mixing colors in your materials, but also mixing colors, using colors in a new way by cutting them apart and putting them and making something new.